Hey guys, in this video I'll be showing you some of the signature sounds used in a lot of classic house tracks, as well as chord progressions and a few other techniques that you can use whilst making your own songs. So let's get into it. So we'll just start by taking a look at the main beat. Pretty generic kind of house beat going on. And for most of the sounds I was using samples from the Roland TR-909. Which comes in quite a few DAWs just as a standard pack. So from that I was using the kick, the snare and clap, which were layered up together, and I just took a bit of the decay away. Just using that knob there. And then a couple of the hi-hat sounds, so this is the more closed one. Slightly more open. And this we all know. Just took a bit of the decay out of that as well. And also had a couple of additional percussion hits, so these rims. And this additional snare here. So the main beat, the kick is just doing 4 to the floor. And then these bits here just providing a bit of extra rhythm. There we have it. So for the processing, I wanted to keep the drums kind of as dry and tight as possible to help them sound more punchy and cut through the mix. So most of the EQ and processing that I had was just a bit of a subtractive EQ, just to take out the frequencies we didn't want, and then a bit of reverb just to help add a bit of space into the sound. So I'll just demonstrate on the snare here. Just creates a tiny bit of space. And I think for the kick, I had a shed ton of distortion. And that was pretty much it. Nice and simple. So on top of that main beat, I also had this bongo loop. Which isn't entirely necessary, especially in this kind of genre, but I thought I added quite a nice groove on top of this beat here. Ooh, makes it sound a bit more groovy. Cool, and aside from that, I also had this kind of clave loop. And you can find all those sounds if you go over to the sides here. Go into packs, legacy, drums, and then vintage, and they're all labeled here. And on them, I just had a bit of reverb and some delay. And that was that. Cool, so onto the big booty bass. Oops, this is the note rhythm that I had going on there. And to make that sound, I was using this VST here, which is an emulation of the Juno 6, which is a classic analog synth. They do a free version of this, which I'll leave a link for if you want to check that out. And it's quite an easy patch. So it's just a square wave, a sawtooth, frequencies cut off to about here. It's a low pass, with a bit of resonance, pretty short decay, some sustain and release. And I just activated this chorus on it. And I duplicated that. And this one is just playing the sub, and that's without any chorus, because once you add chorus, that makes that gives stereo width to the sound, and you want to keep everything in your lower and sub frequencies in mono. So that's them together. It's just the sub. And for the processing, just a bit of EQ. And then this limiter is just, there's a sidechain to the kick. Now you do this for a couple of reasons. The first is it gives that sort of bouncy groove to it. And it also stops the bass frequencies from the bass and the kick overlapping together. So the low end doesn't become too muddy. So I'll just show you without and then with. It's kind of subtle in this example, but yeah, that's just why I did that. And I also have another bass layer over here. So this might be something you want to consider was making this music or any sort of music really. If you're listening to stuff on crappy speakers or shitty headphones, you tend to lose a lot of the power of the bass. And it might be a good idea to add an extra layer like this with higher frequency content so that you can still hear the bass line even if your speakers or whatever don't represent the sub too much. So this is just an example of what you might want to do. And this is just playing a sawtooth. So just cut out all the bass in that. When you layer it up with this other one, just helps some of those higher frequencies come through, which might be something you want to consider. But anyway, that's all I did there. Now, if you download the FLP, obviously you won't have, unless you have the synth, this will be missing. So what I've done is just create an extra patch over here, just using the 3x oscillator. And that's roughly the same thing that's going on in these two, if you want to use that as a reference to create that bass sound. Cool. So that's it for the bass. Just show you this art bit here. Pretty simple rhythm. And that's 2 saw waves. The second is turned down 1 octave. This is the volume envelope, so pretty short decay, quite plucky. And then just turn the filter down to about here. Pretty short decay again, and then just adjusted this tension. You can mess around with that sort of stuff. And then on that, it just had some chorus. This is a free chorus plugin, by the way, and I'll leave a link for that as well. Delay, a bit of reverb, and a high pass filter. That was just to bring in the sound over here. Run through some of these effects. Nice and simple. So onto the pads. This is the first pad sound. And to make that, the first was the sine wave, then it had a saw wave and another sine wave, and the first two were detuned a little from each other, just kind of gives it this phasey kind of sound. So that was just coming in a wee bit. Then had a bit of attack, quite a long decay and some release, and the filter taken down to about here. Then on that I had a flanger, that just helps give it quite a bit of movement. Makes it sound a bit more like psychedelic and spacey. The limiter here was just set up for a sidechain. And to do that, so if you don't know, is you just click on the kick here, and then right click and go sidechain to this track, whichever one it was. Then pull up a limiter. This will be set to 0. So you just go into compression, sidechain to 0, and then you can just adjust the levels here. So we'll just get that kick going as well. And then you can just adjust it to however you like. Nice and easy. And then on top of that, a bit of EQ taking out the low ends. That was another filter which I just used to bring the sound into the song. And a bit of reverb. So the other pad that I had coming in the second half of the track was just this one here. Oh, it's gone. And again, I use this synth for that. So just a square and a saw, a bit pulse width, then slowly open the frequency cutoff. Pretty long decay, some sustain and release. And this is without effects. So on that I had a reverb, some distortion, playing like a sidechain, like a volume envelope, a bit of delay to add some stereo width, and some EQ. And that's it for the pads. So for the piano sounds, I was just using FL Keys, which is the plugin just that comes with FL Studio. And it has like a really nice quality to it when it comes to this sort of music. So it's really punchy, it doesn't seem to have too much low end, and it's great for having these little short stabby kind of chords. Now just to talk about the composition, I started off with the vocals and then used them as a basis to write the chords. So started off in this F sharp minor, and this was playing a 7th chord, and there's a bit of variation on that. So the chord is F sharp, A, C sharp, and then for the A, I just move that up an octave, and then to make it 7th, you go up 1 octave from F sharp, and then you go down a whole tone or 2 semitones, so ended up on E. So the regular chord would be like this. The 7th would be up an octave, down a tone. And then this A I just moved up an octave. And that makes it sound pretty housey. And then just experimented with moving the chords around until it sounded like, you know, just a nice groove that went along with the vocals. So all the minor chords, that one and C sharp minor, were both 7ths, and then I just experimented moving around these notes until they seemed to fit with the rest of the groove. And the processing I had on them was just some really quick, easy compression, a bit of reverb, there's a bit of delay, and some EQ, just to make it sound a bit crappier by taking out the low end. Kind of helps it punch through in the mix as well. And that was it for the piano. For this kind of drop here, I just recorded the first note with loads of reverb and then reversed it. So the vocal here is just from a track called Pushing On by Quantic Soul Orchestra. And it contains all the qualities that I kind of wanted in this track. So it's like big, shouty diva vocals. And it sounds pretty good.
Till my stone cold grave, I'll be pushing on.
And I just found that through trolling acapellas on YouTube. A lot of the earlier house tracks sampled disco tracks, disco beats, and there's a couple like funk and soul songs as well. It really doesn't matter what you go for. This is all just kind of personal preference. I suggest if you're looking to release this sort of music, then definitely hit up like a royalty-free website like Splice or something. Then you don't have to worry about getting sued or whatever. And it's harder to retrofit vocals to a song you've already made. So if you have the sample right from the start, then it's easier to work with. And just a couple of notes on this.
Till my stone cold.
This is another reverse I had. Introduces the sound. And these other bits here, I just duplicated the track at the same point. And then this one, I just pitched down 7 semitones, and this one pitched up. And then doubled them up with the original vocal.
She'll be pushing on.
In this example, it doesn't sound too good, but just if you only have like one vocal take, it can be a good idea if you want to just add a bit of variation throughout the track. And by going up 5 or down 7 semitones, that's like a good harmony to work with. And aside from that, I just had this sweep here. So let's just play that for you. And I came up with the idea from that, just from this vocal bit here. So it kind of follows the same notes. It's actually quite easy to make. It was just a square wave. 2 square waves. Again, just detuned off each other a bit. And then I had these sliding notes. So it starts off down here. And then slides up to this one here. And as you get further along, the slide just gets higher and higher. And I just used a delay and reverb just to blend that sound out a bit. And then I adjusted the panning, so the left and right. So this automation here, this is how much it pans. If it's in the center, it pans left and right just a tiny bit. And then the further along it goes, the further left and right the signal is. And then this is just automating the speed in which it pans. So this is quite slow LFO, and as it speeds up, it gets left and right quicker and quicker until here, and then just drops off to normal. So that was it. And that's it for the whole song. So thanks for watching, guys. As always, I'll be sure to leave a link in the description for the free project file containing all the samples and that sort of stuff, as well as all the free VSTs that I used in this project. And that's it. So see you in the next one. Bye.